We're celebrating 21 years of professional broadcasting. You can be part of the program this morning. You can talk to us on Twitter. We're channels_sports, Facebook channels _sports. I still want to read some messages on Twitter. Professor Chris Inaina is still talking to us. Says, what a tournament for Djokovic. Retirement galore. Next opponent should be worried because he has brokered no sweat so far. And I totally agree with him. But let's talk about the World Cup qualifiers. What a game we saw. Brazil, Colombia is looking tight now.
Oh, well, looking tight at the top of the South American World Cup qualifying group. Going into that round of games, Argentina was perched at top. Yeah. Now they're in third because they played 2-2 with Venezuela. Wow. A game in which they struggled because they didn't have Lionel Messi to help them boss things in the middle of the park. Venezuela shot into a 2-goal lead. In the second goal coming in the first half, the very early minutes of the second half. But they did well to haul themselves back into the game. Otamendi with the equalizer late on 82nd minute. Yeah. So they sit in third position. Second place, Brazil, who beat Colombia in a very difficult game, coming off that impressive away win in Ecuador. They were home against Colombia, got into an early lead, I think in the 7th minute, but the Colombians hauled themselves back, scored with it was actually Makino's own goal to tie it 1-1. But later on in the game, that man, with his 48th international goal in less than 80 games. Wow. That's an average of 1 point something, at the international scene. I mean, that is no mean feat. That man turns on the style each time he's in the yellow and gold and blue for Brazil. Wow. So he's delivered under 3 points. They're in second place now, I think. Yeah. And then there's Uruguay, who also, won 4-0 yesterday. Cavani with a brace. Suarez making some of those goals and scoring a penalty himself. So it's shaping up quite nicely in the South American qualification zone. But like I said, it's very tight at the top. The automatic spots are occupied by Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and of course Colombia.
That's right. You expect the South American qualifiers to be competitive. They love playing football.
It is always
playing football there. Let's come see what the papers are saying. I'll also still read some tweets. Front page of the Complete Sports newspaper, Raw. We need our best players to qualify. And I'm saying, I'm looking at it, but the best players, we saw virtually all of them against Tanzania.
Who was missing?
Yeah, we saw all of them. But I thought that the creative hub of the team hasn't exactly been well, figured out. He needs to make up his mind if he wants to play Mikel Obi really in that number 10 role, because what we saw mostly was Kelechi Iheanacho trying to link to play Igalo through. It wasn't exactly working. So he's got to figure out, the transition from midfield into attack. The white men got a lot of chances, but Victor Moses particularly was disappointing against Tanzania. On another day, the white men, Ahmed Musa and Victor Moses could have scored a couple of goals in that game because they really, got behind the defense. But the quality of the final ball was disappointing most times. And when they went for goal, they just let themselves down. So I don't know really. Maybe he was convinced by what he saw of Mikel at the Olympic Games, so he wants to play Mikel a bit further, upfield in front of the defensive midfielder. So he's the creative force of the team. But I feel that if you play a team, that plays two men in their holding role and maybe put a man on Mikel, we may struggle. Mikel is not the Mikel of the Under-20 World Cups that we saw, even though it was impressive, I must say, at the Under-23, the Olympic Games. I just feel that when we play teams that are defensively disciplined, it's easy to nullify Nigeria's threats going forward. And once the supply from midfield is cut off, then we're left chasing long balls all over the place and we're not as threatening in the final third. So for me, that's a critical area because Odion Igalo did caught an isolated, frustrated figure on match day, and you don't want that to happen.
Oh, you don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and the coaches, talked about, needing their best players. I mean, who's out there, that didn't actually feature against Tanzania?
I mean, the guys who we've come to expect over the years who didn't play, maybe do not even deserve a place in the team. A case in point, Efe Ambrose, who didn't even make the Champions League team of Celtic. That's a guy who's featured over the last 5 years or so. The Chelsea guy, the central defender Omero, I don't think has been on top of the game. His game in the last 2 years for Nigeria doesn't exactly stake a big claim to first team shirts. I thought that Leon Balogun and Troost Ekong didn't look, even though we didn't exactly have so much defending to do,
we need
but
to see more of them.
we need to see that more of that partnership and see how it gels, going forward. Musa Mohammed was his name, the guy on the right side of defense, was impressive defensively. Didn't have much to do, but the few times he was called into action, he did his job very well. But going forward, he's got to improve on the quality of his final third. But he was full of running. He's got a great engine. He can get up and down, that flank. So the prospects were good. Only that in the final details, especially in the final third where it all matters, moves were breaking down more frequently than you would have liked, and that connection was just lacking between Mikel Iheanacho and critically Igalo. They've got to create bucket loads of chances for the guy to score goals.
Okay, I will just take one more on the World Cup qualifier. Zambia not scared of Eagles. FA president optimistic of Chipolopolo's chances. But a lot of guys are saying that Zambia are the pushover in that team. I think Zambia is a decent team.
It's a decent team, and they've got a difficult ground. Ndola, where that game is going to happen, doesn't have the best surface in the world. So we've got to. I heard Raw saying we may not play in Akwa Ibom again because he didn't like the surface. If he doesn't like Akwa Ibom, he wouldn't even like Ndola at all. So, it's a difficult travel, our first game. So we can't take it for granted. I don't believe that the Zambians are going to roll over or that we're going to turn them over. We've got to do the business, the difficult way, the ugly way to get 3 points or anything at all from that trip.
I agree.
Okay, but let's go straight to Sporting Life now. Sporting Sun, I beg your pardon. And it's all about the Manchester Derby. It's where we can start the build-up right from now. Because 400 police have been drafted for this Saturday's Manchester Derby. What's going on here?
It's going to be a war.
That's right, I agree.
Both
Why
of them.
do you say that?
Yeah, because, before it was feisty. Now a different dimension has been added to it with Guardiola and Mourinho, sworn enemies. We know how it went down in Spain when both of them were managers of Real Madrid and Barcelona respectively. Now that enmity has been brought over to England, and trust the British press to even blow this even out of proportion, such that it becomes the most important game in world football.
That's right.
So all of the build-up has been about these two individuals and the characters, that they brought in. Guardiola, at the last count, has brought in 10 players with the signing of Bravo 10.
Spent a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of money. Yeah. Mourinho bought, Zlatan, who doesn't like Pep because of what
doesn't like him at all.
At Barcelona. So there are lots of subplots, interesting subplots going into this one. But unfortunately, we would be missing Sergio Aguero in action. I think that takes something significantly away from this derby because he's the man for the big occasion. He's the man who probably has scored the most derby goals in the last 4 or 5 years. And so to be missing out in that manner, if he was injured, it would have been a different case. It was a careless elbow he threw at Reed in that game against West Ham. It was absolutely unnecessary. And Pep Guardiola must be ruining, that particular indiscretion from his player. But again, what that means is that Iheanacho probably gets a start, an opportunity to show that he can do it in the big games.
Or it's either he gets a start or Pep Guardiola, does his false nine selection.
Absolutely. We've seen him do that in big games in the past. So he could move David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, or Sterling in the false nine position and just dominate, possession and, create so many chances that it becomes impossible for them not to score one or two, whether or not they have a point man, but it doesn't take away the fact that we'll be missing, a big player in Sergio Aguero.
Yeah, is it too early to ask for your prediction for this one?
I think it'll end in a draw. I think that Guardiola will get in there, set his stalls out to defend, to be very solid defensively, to be very difficult to break down, because we saw in the first 5 games that City looked the more fluent side, in terms of the quality of play. But United looked like a more solid team defensively.
Just considered one goal.
Exactly, the team that can hurt you more in set-piece situations and on breakaways. So I'm not saying it will be straight-up attack against defense, but remember, Pep Guardiola doesn't usually have a plan B, so he'd set his guys out to go boss possession, create so many chances, whilst Mourinho would just tell his words, stay defensively solid, keep your shape, so we can hurt them when they lose the ball.
Okay, quickly, still on Sports and Sun, it's like Gernot Rohr has been listening to us because it says Rohr dreads Zambia. So the manager is definitely not underestimating Zambia.
He can't afford to.
That's right.
You know, you need to be at your clinical best when you play on such difficult pitches. You know, when you spoke about the players, the best players who may not be in the squad, one name just popped on my mind now. Isaac Success, I think, the guy who's at Watford now, their record signing. I saw him play for Granada last season. I thought it was impressive. He's got pace, he's got power, and he can finish. He didn't score a lot of goals, but I think that's one player that Rohr has got to be looking at as an option to Igalo on his off days, because Igalo, yes, can score goals, but some days he just goes missing. On such occasions, there's no point forcing the issue. Just replace him, you know, play another guy in his place. Right now, I don't see too many options up front for Nigeria, and I think it's probably an opportunity to bring in a young player who's got a point to prove, like Success.
Yeah, Success and injuries, and you know, started the season with an injury, but it's back now playing for Watford. So hopefully it gets a look in future. And there's still, this is good news really. Alex will be back from injury. This one player as well too that can you know, play for the Super Eagles.
What I love about Alex Iwobi is his ability to play the neat 1-2, open up defenses with a clever pass. We saw on the opening day of the league against Liverpool, that clever pass that played Theo Walcott through. He's got an eye for the difficult pass, and you need players like that to unlock defenses. Zambia will not play open, expansive, attacking football against Nigeria. They're probably going to be defending for their life for the most part and looking to hit us on the break. So you need players like Alex Iwobi with the intelligence and the guile, you know, to play other players through, and that's why I'm excited that, you know, he's back in action, back in training, and will be back in action very soon for Arsenal.
Yeah, quickly, still on Sports and Sun, Eriksen signs new 4-year deal with Spurs. Good news for Tottenham.
Fantastic news. He's been one of their better players over the last 3 years. Very consistent. Last season he scored 8 goals. Scored the winner at Stamford at City. The dead ball specialist. You know, he's the creative hub for the team. He's the guy who gets the team ticking. So to have, you know, kept him and signed him to a long-term contract can only mean great news for Pochettino as he seeks to build Spurs into a formidable and consistent British team or English team.
Top 4, probably.
I think that with distraction of the Champions League this season, it will be a lot more difficult, and because there are more teams in there that are looking, you know, to break into that top 4. So if they crash out early in the Champions League and they don't have so much distraction in the Europa League, maybe they can mount the title challenge. But I don't see a massive improvement from what they've done last season in terms of the quality of the squad. They brought in Wanyama, who's got a lot of presence in the middle of the park. I thought Dembele, Dyer were doing just about everything you would expect from, you know, people in those positions. So they haven't exactly strengthened. And we saw Harry Kane struggle at the Euros early season for both England and club. He's not exactly looked, you know, back to his best. So really, I don't see that there will be much improvement on the performances from last season.
Yeah, but it's good news that Christian Eriksen will be at White Hart Lane until June 2020. Okay, still on Sports and Sun, there's a lot of headlines there that I'm going to get you to react to. Ronaldo linked with Barca. Silly season is over, but we're still getting this kind of headline.
Oh my God.
Ozil hints on Arsenal exit. Should Arsenal fans be worried about Ozil leaving?
Well, we heard before Arsenal did late business in the transfer window that himself and Sanchez made it clear that if Arsenal didn't get players through the door, quality players through the door, they may not renew their contracts. But I thought Arsenal did well in the final days of the transfer window. They brought in Mustafi, brought in Perez as well from Deportivo. So there should be no reason why they will be stalling on the contract. What I hear, though, is that holding out for a £200,000 a week contract.
Wow.
He's not going to get that at Arsenal, I can assure you.
I'll just read this message on Twitter and then we'll go on a break. Ibuka Onwubuariri says Rohr should know that football is not played on the pages of the newspapers. He should walk more and talk less. Well, you need this out talk as we're expecting.
He doesn't talk, what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so that's it. Sonny Taiwo says Nigerians in diaspora in Germany cannot wait to receive Arnold Quadri in Düsseldorf during the ITTF World Cup. This is sometime from Germany. So Arnold Quadri, reach out to them. They can't wait to show you some love when you touch down in Germany. That's another historic achievement, 25th in the world.
Absolutely. I thought that table tennis players in Nigeria have always been underrated. They've been clearly some of the best players on the African continent. But Quadri particularly did himself a world of good at the Olympic Games, where he lost to the eventual champions, and I think at the quarterfinal stage. Yeah. So to be rated number 25 in the world, massive achievement.
Massive achievement. That's it. We're talking sports right here. Channels TV Sports Center in Lagos, Nigeria. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we will read more comments and take some of the reactions from the paper. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.